What's up, guys? Today, I'll be talking about a trippy sea creature, the comb jelly. Now, comb jellies aren't just a single species. In fact, every single member of the phylum Ctenophora is a comb jelly. And if you look at the taxonomic hierarchy, phylum is pretty high up, so that's going to be a lot of comb jelly species. That means this lesson will be more on the general info about them rather than on just one species of comb jelly. Like, for example, these guys have been around for at least 700 million years. This kind of general stuff probably makes things easier for me too. Now, without further ado, let's get into its physical characteristics. If you're anything like me, you're probably wondering why comb jellies are called what they are. You'd probably guess that the jelly part of their common name is just short for jellyfish. That's what I thought too. But guess what? We're both wrong. Comb jellies actually aren't jellyfish, despite looking very similar. One key difference is in their classification, since while comb jellies belong to the phylum Ctenophora, jellyfish belong to the phylum Cnidaria, meaning they're not that closely related at all. As for the more physical differences, comb jellies don't have stinging cells like jellyfish have, and are also harmless to us. I wouldn't recommend touching and scooping them out of the water though, since they're very delicate and can just disintegrate when you take them out of the water. But if you can't help yourself and want to touch them, make sure you're very gentle. If you're a part of my male audience, treat them as you would during your first time, if you catch my drift. Wink wink. Looking at the first part of their name, the comb part refers to the groups of cilia they use in order to swim. These usually run in 8 rows from the top to the bottom of their bodies, thus dividing the comb jelly into 8 parts like a pizza. Pizza. The combs act like tiny oars for the comb jellies, propelling themselves through the water. But if you've seen the comb jelly, you'd know that's not the main highlight about them. The super awesome feature of these comb jellies is how most of them produce a rainbow effect as they move. This trick actually isn't due to bioluminescence though, but is due to the comb scattering light while moving. Many comb jelly species are bioluminescent, funnily enough, their light usually being a blue or green and only really visible in the dark. A lot of comb jellies also have a single pair of tentacles that can branch out, which can make it look like they've got multiple tentacles when they really don't. Posers. They use their tentacles kind of like fishing lines that are covered in sticky cells called coloblasts, which trap and bring their prey into their main bodies. Comb jellies are usually very small too, often not being more than a couple of inches long. But there is a species of comb jelly that's just stupidly big for no reason, and that's the Venus girdle. Kinda looks like a ribbon, huh? It's got the length of one too, at around 1 to 1.5 meters long, which is like 15 times the length of a typical comb jelly. Imagine using that as a scarf. Look at me. Is this not cool? Nah, I actually want one now. Someone get on making that. Now I'm about to talk about super nerdy and sciencey stuff about their body structure, so if you don't want to listen to all that, I'll just give you a TLDR, I guess. Just warning you, you're gonna miss out on a pretty cool fact. If I were you, I wouldn't want to miss it. It's pretty cool. But TLDR, comb jellies have 3 parts that make up their body. The epidermis, or skin, the gastrodermis, surrounding their gut, and the mesoderm in between, or their skeleton that makes them like jello. Boom. There's your TLDR. Hope that was cool. You can skip like 50 seconds now if you're boring and want to miss my cool fact. Now for the cool people who want to listen to my nerd talk, for the basics of their body structure, comb jellies have 2 major cell layers, the external epidermis, which is basically like our skin, and the internal gastrodermis, which surrounds the digestive cavity. In between these 2 layers is the mesoderm that's made of mostly just water along with muscle cells, structural proteins, and nerve cells that act like their skeleton and give comb jellies their gel-like appearance. In the epidermal layer, they have nervous system cells that allow them to sense environmental stimuli like light. And in the gastrodermis is their gut, where there's no stomach organ, intestines, or lungs. This is because comb jellies don't need any of these organs, since the nutrients and oxygen they do need just slips in and out of their cell walls, generally through the gastrodermis. Wasn't that a cool fact? If you didn't think so, well, that's too bad. You already listened to it. Moving on, comb jellies as feeders are carnivorous and opportunistic, so they eat whatever that comes by, including zooplankton, larvae, sometimes small fish, and even other comb jellies. That's cannibalism. Recently, it was also discovered that comb jellies don't get rid of waste from their mouths like other similar invertebrates, but have pores at the end of their bodies, kind of like a butthole, where they release what they can't digest. Phew, that was a lot of info. Wait, that was just the physical characteristics? Holy crap, this was not easier at all. God, I hope the rest of this isn't as long as this was. To start off, thankfully the distribution section is pretty simple because I'm talking about their general info. Comb jellies are found basically everywhere. They're in oceans from super cold waters in the North and South Poles to tropical waters where they more commonly live. But not only do they live everywhere, but they also live in all depths of the ocean, from the ocean surface to over 7,000 meters deep. Fun fact, the ones most studied though are the ones closer to the surface. You can take a good guess why that is. Next up, we've got the reproduction and life cycle. Comb jellies are simple organisms, and fortunately for me, also have a simple lifestyle. Many are hermaphroditic, meaning they produce both eggs and sperm to release into the water to go fuse with other gametes, promoting genetic diversity, which is pretty important for animal species. Some also have the nifty ability to reproduce asexually too, by cloning themselves through a process called budding, where part of their bodies can split off and develop into new comb jellies. Not many larval comb jellies survive to become adults though, since many are eaten by bigger sea creatures. But comb jellies as a whole are super chilling. Can't really say what their conservation status is, since, it's an entire group of sea creatures, but they're overall very stable. Actually, too many of them can be a bad thing. Because comb jellies are super good at surviving due to having broad diets, reproducing quickly, and tolerating different water conditions, they can thrive in new ecosystems they arrive in as invasive creatures. Too many of these jellies can devour so much zooplankton that there's barely any left for fish larvae to eat, drastically decreasing fish populations and heavily affecting our fisheries. That's probably a bad thing, but I like comb jellies, so they get a pass. Anyway, that's about it for today's lesson. Subscribe for more fish facts, and I'll see you next time.